If you're new, wakey, and start poking around on, the internet, X, YouTube, watch stuff, learn stuff, and try to catch up a little bit and pray.
Welcome, everyone, to We Are Not Alone here on Queen City News Plus. I'm your host, May K. Beeler. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, today we have a special guest returning for part 2, Camille James Harmon, a well-known and very successful Hollywood actress, best known for Shameless and for her role in an Oscar-winning movie, Vice. She's also a UFO experiencer. She was here with us a few weeks ago. She is back to continue her journey with us as a UFO experiencer with some very interesting encounters that will make you think. In case you missed the first episode, here's a snippet. Take a listen.
And then I saw a flash of an instrument, like a gynecological instrument, and a little embryo was taken out of it.
Oh my God.
And I just had a total nervous breakdown.
Oh my God.
She said, "What are they telling you?" And I said, "I have a baby and they want it." So I know this sounds crazy. The story is among the community that they are making these hybrid creatures from us and them, right?
Yeah.
I have no memory of being impregnated. I have no memory of ever seeing this baby in the future. That's all I got from that.
All right. Camille joins us now once again from Los Angeles. Camille, that is riveting and terrifying and a bit disturbing. Thank you for joining us again.
It's my pleasure.
So much to talk about today. We ended with so many questions last time, and our viewers all wanted to know when is part 2. So you're very popular. We're so glad to have you. What do you want to start with? Any comment about the pregnancy? Is that what we call it? Do you know other women who have experienced something like that?
I know it sounds so crazy, but there are so many people I have met in my 30 years of being in this field of research, interacting with other experiencers, going to support group meetings, conferences, etc. It's very common. It's very common with men too, not just women. Women have the pregnancy, obviously, but men are having their genetic material taken as well and being shown babies. So I don't know, again, what the ultimate goal of that agenda is. There are many theories. I hope it's not terrifying, more than it already is.
So that's an abduction where you were probably impregnated and you don't remember that. But then when they removed the embryo, have you had other encounters?
I have. I had an encounter where I was awakened every day at 4 a.m. for no reason, with my digital clock saying 400. And on the third day of that, I looked down and I had this bleeding triangular wound in my leg, a freshly scabbed triangular puncture array. And I did a regression with a different therapist for that memory, Yvonne Smith, and I got aliens, whatever aliens are, again. And it was very scary. But the one I want to talk about today that we kind of left off and everybody was like, what? Tell me about that, is what my dentist found in my tooth. Okay, so you have to understand, when I go get hypnotized, I always have a target. I always have something I'm going after to find out more. So what happened was I had all my fillings changed and I went to my dentist because one of my new fillings was hurting me and it was really sensitive. So I said, I love all my fillings. They're so pretty, but this one over here is like, it's sensitive. It's bothering me. So he said, give it a little more time. Your seal is good. There's no reason it should be sensitive, but give it some time. So I came back later, a couple of months later, said it's still bothering me. And he said, well, let me dig it out and I'll redo it with a different brand. So he did that. And while he was in there, he found this something in my tooth that he says was not there before. He said, and I had told him I was an abductee, and I had told him sometimes people freak out in the dentist chair, I've read, but that's never happened to me. But I said, if any of your patients ever freak out in the dentist chair, that's a thing. And I said, and if you ever find anything weird in my body, you have to tell me. And so he said, oh, well, I read a book about Roswell. So, okay, lady. But lo and behold, he finds this thing in my tooth. And he showed me with the mirror and he was scratching on it. And he said, was not here when I put this in before. It's not your old filling. It's very hard, charcoal gray. It's spherical or semi-spherical, and I've been drilling and drilling it and barely putting a dent in it. And what do you want me to do? And I said, oh my God, I don't know, just fill it and I'll decide later. So we did that. The pain stopped, so that was good. Um, Later, I met with a doctor associated with MUFON who was a Navy doctor, and he asked me if I would have my tooth removed, and I said, no, I don't want to have my tooth removed.
Mm.
So it's whatever's left of it is still there. You can see in the x-ray, there's a slight little dome above the filling area, and I circled that whole tooth. So anyway, that was that. But I went and got a regression because I was curious, and I went to Barbara Lamb and what happened in the regression, there was no blue light. There was nothing like in the other regressions with the beings. This was, I came to on a table in a regular exam room with cabinets and walls and um, two guys in lab coats with khaki pants and black shoes. And I was very, I felt very drugged. Okay. When I was with the
Mm.
beings, I would remember it as being very alert, but just not able to move physically. But when I was in this situation, I felt drugged. So it was very scary. They called me a troublemaker. That's all I remember. It was really vague, the memory. And I remember one of them putting a syringe through my cheek and squirting something into my jaw. So it wasn't like a dental procedure. It was just like this into my jaw, which was very weird. And then they put me, either the table was a gurney or they put me on a gurney and we rolled down a hall. And then there was this big room with a black helicopter and they put me in that. And then the ceiling opened up. And I remember because it was daylight, it was really bright. And I was like, ah. And we went up and they took me home to this little field by my house in LA, in Silver Lake. And they landed and said, go home and take a nap. And that's all I remember from that regression. I don't remember how they got me. I was so freaked out when I came out of that. And my recording didn't work. That my therapist usually, she presses record and there's a little tape. Nothing worked. So I don't know if she messed up or something weird intercepted our recording, but I have no recording of it, so I couldn't make a transcript. But it was traumatizing because I thought, oh my God, like I've heard of this before, but like if that really is what happened, then that's terrifying. Like what else has happened to me that I don't remember that involves our own kind, you know? And
So,
that's what
Camille,
shocks
these
a lot of people too.
were these military people? So these are not aliens, obviously.
Right.
Military people? Who were they? Why do you think they were there? And what did they put in your tooth?
I don't know. I don't know if they were military. All they had lab coats on. Um, there are rumors that the military is working with the aliens in these bases, which are everywhere. A recent interview with Catherine Austin Fitz on Tucker Carlson, she mentioned the underground bases and that how our country has spent 20 something trillion dollars building them, and they're under the water, under the continent. They're connected by tunnels. I mean, they're all over the place. They're not just in America too. So there's a whole thing on that. But it's a huge part of the black budget. It's a huge part of the missing Pentagon money that they can never account for. And it's connected to a lot of corporations. So they hide information and access to the information many different ways. Some people would be surprised that a lot of it is through the nuclear agencies, okay? Because these UFOs they give off radiation. So once they get involved with something that gives off radiation, they can classify it as nuclear, top secret, and put it in that category. So there's that. I've seen documents related to Department of Defense analyzing radiation illnesses from people who've been associated with anomalous phenomena, they call it. I've seen there are documents about the construction of underground bases linked to Martin Marietta Materials and Lockheed Martin, specifically in the Sedona region. And there's just so much about this people can learn about. So it's a whole thing. So I want to tell you this quick story about Sev Talk, your previous guest, because she and I met through a conference in San Francisco where we both spoke. And I offered to drive her home. She was in town filming Ancient Aliens and she needed a ride to the airport. So I brought her to the airport and we were talking about our military abduction experiences because she had those too. And she said they were very frightening. And what she would focus on was love. And I said the same thing. I said, even though I'm not having experiences right now, I always try to approach this with with love and prayer and just, it's so intense. You have to stay positive, right? About the grand scheme and how to be productive, right? And so we talked about love, and I talked about research on Catholic mystics by Diana Pasulka, including Saint Teresa of Avila, who reported an experience that's very similar to a modern day interaction with a small being. She had an angel appear to her and put a spear in her. And she described it as having a body and being 3 feet tall, unlike the other angels she was used to seeing. So here's my story. I know it's really long, but I'm almost finished. So I dropped her at the airport and I got routed by my phone back home a whole different way, back around by my old house. So I said, I'm going to go pull off and look at my old house because I was just talking about it. And I pull off the highway. I'm following my phone navigation and I come to a stop. And right in front of me is this little church. And I said, oh, that little church is so pretty. I wonder what it is. And I looked closer and it was Saint Teresa of Avila Church. And I was like,
Oh my goodness.
and then I went over to my old house, where new people live. It's a duplex. And there's a wall to hold in the garden because it's on a hill. It's a house on a hill. And somebody had written in pink on the wall, only love with chalk. I'm not kidding. Only love. And I thought, what is happening? And then I was sitting there with my window rolled down and I heard voices and there were women talking up there on the porch. And so I got to go up and meet the girl who lived downstairs from me and tell her my story. And she said, I've seen UFOs from this house because it has this huge window overlooking LA. So anyway, it was this amazing thing. So these synchronicities that happen that keep you in, excitement about it all, they're very frequent. And that's just an example of one.
Let me ask you, we're going to I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about why you were targeted and Sev talk as well with these marks on you. And did you manifest that? Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. So Camille, these military people or the people in lab coats and then the grays that brought you up or took you wherever, why do you think you were targeted? I think I asked you before in our earlier program, do you think you attracted it because you wanted to be part of, I know you were infatuated with UFOs, or were you targeted?
I don't know. I don't know if I wanted to be part of it. I had just read that Whitley Strieber book and become aware of the phenomenon and how involved it was. So I was interested in it. But I also look at theories about genetic lineage. Like there may be certain people that are compatible with whatever they're looking for. Also, I had a NASA uncle. He's passed away. He worked under Werner von Braun. He was a mechanical engineer. He worked for NASA his whole career from the 60s. And I lived with him for a year. And his daughter now is one of the payload managers of the space station. And so I often wonder, you hear about these biology for technology deals that were made by our government in the 50s. And, did certain people in certain families in these careers, were they put on a list like, oh, yeah, you can abduct people, because it's like all in the family. I've run that by a few people in the field, like Nick Pope specifically. And he said, yes, that's highly probable, actually. And so it could be that. I don't know. Or it could be they're looking for abilities in people is one of the theories. Like, do people have certain psychic abilities? There's this thing called psionics where they're using people to psychically connect with these beings and bring them in. So the military could be very interested in people that know how to do that because that's a way for them to study or capture UFOs is by using humans to telepathically connect with them in some way. That's a huge thing going on right now in the research and in the whistleblowers.
Do you think you are in contact with them now? I mean, I know you had contacts many, many years ago. Then you had this pregnancy scare or whatever, and the military thing and the thing in the tooth. Is it still in your tooth, by the way?
Whatever's left of it, yes. That's a recent x-ray, by the way. That's not my x-ray from way back then. That's
Camille, aren't you concerned that maybe it's like a homing device?
Well, nothing's happening to me that I know. Okay. I went to all these healers and people pray over me and all this stuff. I haven't had any abductions that I know of in years. So I'm not worried, but I do still feel like there's something urgent happening and that I'm still it's in the realm of possibility for me to be abducted, or they could be interacting with me in a way that's totally subconscious that I don't even know is happening. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm
Camille,
glad it's not happening in my consciousness, ripping me out of my bed and, putting me on a table. I am open to working with those light beings that I encountered in that out of body experience. That would be great. And I always pray, God, please let me work with your good angels. That was great, but I don't want the other scary stuff. So I'm cautious about people that uh, go into this with curiosity without um, I don't know, protection or
right.
common sense.
I wanted to ask you about that because last time, right at the end of our program, I said, do we need to be worried? And you said, we need to be cautious.
Yes, because there's such a variety of experience people have, and people kind of divide into camps like the aliens are good, the aliens are bad, and I'm one of those people in the middle. I think why can't it be both? And you need to be cautious. And it's just there's so many other exciting aspects to it from people I've met, the adventures I've had, the synchronicities I've had. But you know, it's changes your world. It can really distract you from your day-to-day life, your career, your future planning, Like I get very worried about the future and what's going to happen and um, it's a lot to hold together and pay your bills and work and do all the normal things, raise your kids.
Right. There's nothing normal about you, Camille. So let's talk about Contact in the Desert, this conference that you went to. Tell us what it is and any breaking news, anything you can share with us that was revealed at this conference.
Yes, it was amazing. I've been 3 years in a row now, and I was there 5 days. And we had some new people come. Ross Coulthart from News Nation, who's been breaking a whole bunch of news with the whistleblowers and the congressional hearings and the underground bases in Sedona. He's been doing some great coverage of that. And so, two of his guests that were in his coverage of the Sedona underground base were three of his guests were speaking at the conference as well. So Ross was there, the Sedona people, Melinda Leslie, um, and her friend Jeremiah Horse. I can't remember his last name. Horse something. He was amazing. Um, and then Dr. Diane Pasulka, not her, Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell from the telepathy tapes she's a neuroscientist, sorry, a neuroscientist who works with savants, autistic savants, and autistic telepathic people. And she was there lecturing to us about psi ability and telepathy and all of these things that cross over into UFO experiences. That was amazing. Um, Riz Verk was there. He's the author of the synchronized, wait, no, the, I can't think of the word. The Simulation Hypothesis. The Simulation Hypothesis is an amazing book. He's a video game creator and genius, tech genius, but he says we have a lot of models in religious traditions that also point to the fact that we're living in a simulation. We're like an avatar in this body, and we have things that we do, and that was really trippy. But there was breaking news. There was another whistleblower apparently that came out. I wasn't in that lecture. Um, Chris Bledsoe was there. He did a sky watch. He did a bunch of lectures. That was amazing. His whole family was there. We saw orbs. He brought the orbs in, even though it was cloudy. We saw orbs. I got video of that. It's on my YouTube. So that was exciting. There were hundreds of people watching that sky watch, and there was a lot. There was a lot. So
Camille,
I invite people to go to their website and look at what they missed, and then pay to access and watch videos from it.
So, Camille, when you all get together and see these orbs, do you manifest it? Do you call them in? How does
Yes,
this
people
happen?
call them in. They basically meditate on it and ask for it, and they come in. And Chris Bledsoe, who was leading that particular event, he says these orbs are beings. He calls them angels. And they come, and he's had orbs that have turned into a being, like a being has stepped out of the orb. And he has that on video too. So sometimes they come very low to the ground. Sometimes they're small. He said he had one recently come down in front of a bunch of people that was blue, and it was the size of the hood of a car. And then it shot back up again. So a lot of people have been seeing these orbs for a long time, and they're all over the place. He's not the only one bringing in orbs.
So, is disclosure coming soon?
I think it really is. I think that this administration is very much about disclosing everything. So, but there's certain things that have to be in place for the stability of the future that they need to get in place so that disclosure can happen in an environment that is conducive to that kind of information. So there are stages of it. But I do think we are close to disclosure. And it's really, there are a lot of congressional hearings happening, a lot of whistleblowers coming out, a lot of coverage. So disclosure is happening on the History Channel. Just go watch Beyond Skinwalker Ranch and Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. It's happening in many forms. It doesn't have to be the president coming out to a podium. It's happening all around us.
Do you think the president knows?
I do think the president knows. I think he's holding his cards to his chest for now, because again, there has to be certain things in place for that kind of a large announcement.
Can you share with us what those things should be?
Well, I mean, we have to our country isn't stable right now. We're going to have a week of protests and riots according to what I'm seeing. There's a he's planning a big thing on June 14th with the parade in DC, and the left is planning a whole counter thing all over the country in many cities. So there are a lot of things that have to be stabilized before you can go to that level. And that could be a very uniting thing, UFO disclosure. It
We're
unites
gonna,
both sides.
Camille, hold the thought. It's a great topic. We're going to take another break. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back with Camille talking about the world. Our country has to be prepared before full disclosure can happen. Seems like we're in a very unstable position right now, Camille. What is this all leading to? Any ideas?
Well, it's hard to talk about without getting really political, to be honest. But I just think our country has been infiltrated from within for decades. There have been forces working against the country, escalating for decades, and there's going to be a stop to that. And I think that we need to prepare for all kinds. It's not just in the US.
Yeah.
The same problem's been happening all around the world where chaos is being deliberately manufactured for a global governance, a new world order. And I don't want a new world order. So that's the side I'm on.
So, Camille, are these secret societies? Are these aliens? Are these terrestrials that live under the earth or in the ocean, or extraterrestrials? Who are these forces that are trying to turn us against each other?
I do think that beside the humans, there are non-human forces taking sides in this situation. That's what I keep hearing, whether you want to call them angelic and demonic or good aliens, bad aliens, ultra terrestrials, extraterrestrials. I don't know. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I read a lot, but I don't know what's true.
What can we do to prepare ourselves?
God, guns, groceries, and generators.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So we have the good and the bad. Will certain aliens or energies or angels save us?
There have been a lot of these orbs and other shaped craft intercepting nuclear weapons. I shouldn't say intercepting, but
Monitoring.
turning down nukes, turning off nukes over the years for a long time. And they don't like nuclear weapons. They don't like the dangers of that. So they may intervene if we go nuclear. I hope so. I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is be ready for anything psychologically, because it's going to get really crazy, and physically be ready for anything.
And how soon do you think this is going to happen?
I think this summer it's going to get really crazy. A lot of people are saying by 2026 we will have disclosure. Some people say 2027. There are a lot of different rumors and predictions being made by people in the know. There is a battle also for portal access. Okay. A lot of these places are portals, and there are military. It's like the movie Stargate. Like they want to control the portal, what's coming in and out of it. There's portals all over the world. Sedona is a portal. Skinwalker Ranch is a portal. And these portals involve time displacement. So there may be military or whatever groups of people that have access to time knowledge about the future from going in and out of portals or working with things that are coming out of portals. The whole thing going on in CERN, that big lab, where they're doing all the particle physics experiments, they're allegedly opening portals. So there's science that we're not being told about.
All right. So before we say goodbye, what else do you want people to know? Because you've said a lot of really heavy duty stuff.
I know.
Whew. What do you want people to know?
And I've had 30 years of this. But
yeah.
If you're new, wakey, and start poking around on, the internet, X, YouTube, watch stuff, learn stuff, and try to catch up a little bit and pray and be physically prepared for anything because it's going to be a crazy couple of years, I think.
Okay. Camille James Harmon. Oh my gosh, Camille. As always, incredible interview. We thank you so much for your time. And we'll see what happens. And like you said, pray and be cautious. Will do. Thank you so much, Camille.
You're welcome.
And thanks everyone for joining us on this edition of We Are Not Alone. I'm May K. Beeler with Queen City News Plus. We'll see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.